Welcome to Who Wants to Be a Mathematician? I'm your host, Mr. Hill, and we're going to be talking about composition of functions today. So, how we do this is first we need to have a couple functions. We have an f of x and we have a g of x. And the way we're going to combine them is through the composition of functions. So, if we have two functions, f of x and g of x, and we want to substitute x into the x variables of f of x, it looks something like this. So f of g of x. If we combine two functions, we have f of x and g of x being combined. Such operation is called composition functions, and f of g of x is, it's a composite function. If you compose two functions, then the function is now a new function and called a composite function. So here we go. F of g of x is read f of g. Hence, f of g of x is equivalent. So if you don't like fog and you like the style at the top, this style, then that's fine. But let's go through some examples to see what the heck am I talking about. So let's just move this away by, bring up our second one. So example number one, we have two different functions. We have a g of x. We have an f of x. And what are we going to do? We're going to compose them. So we're going to join them together. And it's going to look something like this. So if we want to find f of g of x, or f of g of x, then what we do is we find our parent function. And our parent function is going to be whatever is either the first one to come or the one on the outside. So our parent function in this case is going to be our f function. So what is our f function? F of x is equal to x minus 2. And our little baby function is going to be our g of x. What happened to be g of x is equal to 3x plus 1. So we have a parent function, we have a baby function. So on a related side note, if I had f of 2, how would we solve that? Well, if our original f of x is equal to x minus 2, all we have to do is plug in the 2 for our x. So it would be 2 minus 2. All we do is plug in our 2. So if we take that back into consideration, so our f of our g of x is equal to our f function. So it's going to be our x minus 2. But whenever we see an x, we replace it with a g of x. So this is going to turn into a g of x. Now that may be a little bit confusing, but what is our g of x equal to? Our g of x is equal to 3x plus 1 minus 2. So our new function, our new function, f of g of x, is equal to 3x plus 1 minus 2, which is equal to 3x minus 1. So that's going to be our new function, and that is the answer that we're looking for. So as a review, we have combined our two functions in this manner. Our parent function, f of x. And then we plug in our g of x's where we see x's. Just as in our example over here, would plug in a 2 where we see our x's. And we plugged it right in. And we had 3x plus 1 minus 2. So let's move on to example number 2. If we're looking for f of g of x, all we're doing is plugging functions in for our x's. So what is our parent function? Our parent function is going to be the one on the outside. So it's going to be f of x. And what is f of x equal to? F of x is equal to x squared. What is our g of x equal to? Well, our g of x is equal to the square root of x. So when we take a composition of functions, f of g of x, it is equal to our x function, our f function, which is x squared, and we're going to replace our x with g of x. Well, what is our g of x? Our g of x is the square root of x. And now we finish it off. If we square a square root of x, we're just left with x. So f of g of x is equal to x. So when we do f of g of x, so if we look up here at the top again, f of g of x, we take our f function, which is x squared, and we take our g function, which is the square root of x, and all we do is replace our x values with g of x. So that's how we find f of g of x. Now, what if we wanted to find g of f of x? If we wanted to find what is our g function when we substitute our x's for f of x? So same thing. What is our parent function? Our parent function is going to be our g of x. So we're taking our g of x, and we're replacing all our x's with our f of x. So 3 times our f of x plus 1. Now, what is our f of x? Our f of x is 3. We're just going to take this function right up here and put it right in here. Is going to be x minus 2 plus 1. So now we distribute 3x minus 6 plus 1 is equal to 3x plus 5. And that is our answer. So we're just substituting x's in left ways, sideways, up ways, down ways. We're just substituting. If you see an x in a function, you substitute it with another function. So g of f of x, what's our parent function? It's going to be our g of x. And what is that equal to? The square root of x. So we want to find out what is g of f of x. Well, that's equal to our parent function, and every time we see an x, we replace it with an f of x. So square root, and what is our f of x equal to? It's equal to x squared. So the square root of x squared is x, and that's our answer. So that's a quick and simple start to it. And the next video is going to do 2 more problems and an accelerated problem. So hang on tight.